welcome to the latest episode of the Give My Head podcast. I'm Tim McCarney and I'm joined by my comedy colleague,
Damon Quinn.
You're very, very welcome. Welcome to the Give My Head podcast, where we interview comedians, actors, writers, politicians. But first of all, before we say that, we have a couple of things to plug. Give My Head Peace. We have a TV show at Christmas, and also our tour, Give My Head Peace Live World Tour, all over the province, all over the 6 counties, and we're even stretching into the Free State for a couple of gigs, and we're in the Opera House at the end of March. But first of all, we want to say a huge thank you to our sponsor, Phoenix Energy. Oh, Phoenix Energy, thank you so much for your sponsorship. We're big fans of gas, me and Damon, and Phoenix Energy provide energy to thousands of homes across Northern Ireland. About 100,000 homes, am I right?
A quarter of a million, yes.
A quarter of a million there. I downplayed you. I only give you 100,000. You're a quarter of a million.
Quarter of a million.
That's 250,000. Do you know that?
All the way from Larne to Newcastle.
Larne to Newcastle. Does that mean that you don't get that in Fintona? I don't know. We'll have to talk.
Do you have gas?
No.
You don't? All right. You should. It's really good.
We've the turf just.
Yeah. They've got this new thing now that they're doing now. It's called biomethane.
Oh, aye?
Yeah, they're producing gas. You know what that is? Biomethane.
I know, I've heard of it,
Yeah.
aye.
They produce, can you produce biomethane? Have you ever?
Well, if enough time, aye.
Yeah. No, it's actually it's animal product, isn't it?
It is animal, but it's basically cow's farts, basically. And you're a country man, you know.
I can
about
sell you that, aye.
Yep, absolutely.
You can sell us that. Yes, Fueling the Future is the team over at Phoenix Energy are working on something really exciting, which is, as I say, introducing biomethane to their existing gas network as a renewable alternative. This is to help decarbonisation, because I don't know if you know, I mean, we're out, fellas, we don't really care, but the planet is screwed. But Phoenix Energy are doing their bit to try and reduce carbon. The energy, Phoenix Pathways Energy to decarbonisation using biomethane produced from animal waste collected in local farms to fuel their network. And biomethane cows can power Phoenix gas network and fuel thousands of homes while using renewable energy. And if you want to find out more, please go to Phoenix Energy, Fueling the Future. Check out their website at phoenixenergyni.com, Fueling the Future. And you can easily switch, by the way, if you're on the nasty oil, you can easily switch. Go to Phoenix Energy. They will help you to tell you how much it'll cost you and all that. And you'll have heat at your fingertips. You'll have hot water instantly. Phoenix Energy, they're lovely people. Phoenix Energy, we love. Thank you very much for your sponsorship to Phoenix Energy. Now, this podcast goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. If you were watching last week's or the last episode, we interviewed Mike Nesbitt, the Health Minister and leader of the Ulster Unionist Party.
Absolutely.
We have gone from that, ladies and gentlemen.
Comedian here.
We have ladies and gentlemen, we are absolutely delighted to interview one of my favourite stand-up comedians. And people say that now, they don't really mean it, but I've seen Mark a few times. This is the wonderful... you may not be that well known to people in the comedy circuit. You're well known, but ladies and gentlemen, we're absolutely delighted to be joined by the one and only Mr. Mark McCarney. Mark McCarney.
Thanks, boys.
Now, look, I have to fess up.
Yes.
I really have to fess up. The very, very start here. Now, he phoned me last night and he was really excited. He says, great. He says, will you hear? I've got Mark McCarney on the show. And I thought we were getting the Canadian Prime Minister.
Yeah.
See, and I thought I'd all these. So I've got nothing to say. I mean, I had all these questions prepared about Trump and you know. All that
he's
sort of stuff.
great now because he's getting a lot of my hate now.
Canada. Yeah.
Anything online is all him, not me.
Yeah, he'll be a bit surprised by the videos he put up.
Yeah, he would.
Well, you're not Canadian, you're from Fintona.
Yeah. From Fintona, yeah.
In County Tyrone,
Yeah.
which is a well-known hub of comedy, isn't it?
Oh, big culture spot, yeah.
I like Fintona. I was down in Fintona.
You came down one day.
My partner Kelly is doing a photographic project with comedians.
Yeah, you came in and you were like JFK walking through. They were bowing to him and free quiche and
they were throwing themselves at my
and
feet. Yeah,
unbelievable.
But
Motorcade, was it?
Oh yeah.
But Fintona isn't well known as a centre of comedy, is it? I mean, is it?
No, it really. Well, there was a big music festival. Used to be at the Jamboree. Used to be a big thing about it.
The Jamboree.
The Jamboree in the park. It was like our Burning Man, essentially. And apart from that, now the bypass was the other big draw, and that was about the height of it.
Fintona used to have 2 train stations. Did you?
That's right. And Dick the horse.
Dick the horse.
He was always called Dick, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Male or
He's
female,
he's up here now, apparently, at the folk park or the history park, whatever you
Is
call
that
it.
right?
So
you actually had two train stations in Fintona. Now we're going back a wee bit.
There was a big hub of commerce back in the day.
You had a horse-drawn tram.
Yeah. And then they took it away from us.
Yeah.
But the horse-drawn tram, what? It brought
When did you get rid of that? Was that last year or?
Well, no, it's right. A few years ago. It's a shame now because I would have been up on him the day if we hadn't took it away. So
Aye.
they took the whole trains away from us.
And the horse that drew the tram was always called Dick.
It was always every horse
matter what.
was always called Dick.
Yeah.
Male or female? Do
Yep.
female
Male
or
horses
female.
draw trams? I don't know.
No, female horses. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You should know these things. You're a culture, aren't you?
They're just
Right.
horses. they don't really name much of them.
So how is Fintona these days?
Fintina's the very best.
I quite liked it. I think it was the first time I was ever in.
It probably is, yeah. You wouldn't really be having going through it unless you had that kind of a thing. It's
Right.
not really. I suppose if you're going through Omagh and Skillen, maybe that's a bit the height of it.
Right.
But
Tyrone is famous for very funny people. I'm thinking of Dan Quick, who's behind the...
oh yeah. He started it all essentially.
Yeah.
He's who I looked up to whenever I started it.
But one of my favourites and a lot of comedians' favourites ever, and you're a bit of an echo of him, would be the wonderful Mr. Kevin McAleer.
Funny, I've heard that now. I think somebody else said that to me a while ago, and I never thought of it. But maybe there was. Maybe it's just the Tyrone accent, maybe or something.
There's a
but-
bit of the intonation, but also the style as well. I mean,
Think so?
You're a lot ruder than he is. He's
Oh
really-
yeah.
you're
Oh,
dirty
he's a
as
good.
talk.
He's a good person. Like he's a nice man.
He is absolute
Yeah,
gentleman.
Clean living.
Yeah.
Clean living, and Kevin was an absolute comedy genius. If you don't know who Kevin
Oh, aye.
McAleer is, look him up online, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely wonderful.
Well, everyone was
comedian.
supposed to know it was Colin from Uncle
Oh yeah,
Colin.
yes, Uncle Colin from
But
Derry Girls.
I
but-
done a wee video with him. It was literally in around the time that popped off,
Right.
and it was just like walking up to the main street with the Pope, just people, and like it was new to him too. Like it was,
Yeah.
he wasn't used to that level.
He wasn't. I mean, Kevin was a brilliant comedian and
Yeah.
did very well, but he didn't get that level of fame
Yeah,
he
yeah.
deserved until Derry Girls.
That's
was,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
But such a lovely man. I actually did his last ever gig in Daly's in Omagh.
Funny, I was supposed to do that too, and then I took sick,
You took sick.
and I missed it.
That's why I got the call, probably.
No, I remember it was me, you, and Shane.
Shane, yeah,
supposed
Shane
to do
did it, and it was his last ever.
It was his
gig,
last ever show, yeah.
and it was one of his greatest hits, and it was just lovely because
Yeah.
I mean he's one of those guys I always.
And a
admired.
guy that really like he went over to England and done
Yeah.
well, and he was on an RT show, was it Nighthawks? And
Nighthawks. He started. There's a show Friday Night Live or Saturday Night Live. What was the one Ben Elton did? Ben Elton did Saturday Night Live on UTV in the early 80s.
Yep.
And Kevin came on and did this piece about the owls, 3 owls, just a photo of 3 owls.
That's right, yeah.
And Kevin,
Oh, yeah.
what a performer. He was able to stand there in a national TV studio and everybody, Ben Elton was, 1,000 words a minute. And Kevin came on and basically stood for a minute in complete silence
Yeah.
with this picture of 3 owls.
Yeah.
And he was able to hold it and hold it and hold it. And then he just pointed at one of the owls and going, I can't remember what the exact gag was, but, you know, he's the mean one there, and then the whole audience just cracked up. It was it's worth looking. It's available on.
Oh, I've seen it. I've watched it. There is some guys that can just work an audience
Yeah.
and bringing them down to their level, like is a different skill
Yeah.
altogether. But Kevin's great.
Was he an influence on you, or who influeance you to get into this sort of knowledge? You can say, "Give me a headpiece," and thus if you want.
Oh,
You
Give Me a
don't- you don't
Headpiece
have
was
to, you
always
don't
on
have to,
now,
but we don't need to
100%.
force it out of you.
Um,
But 100%.
Damn funny, eh, lads?
but stand-up wise now, it would have been. I remember.
Go back to give me a headpiece. How
Go
wonderful
back to
it was.
Give Me a Headpiece.
What age
Well, it was
you?
all,
What age you?
I'm 35.
Oh right. Well, you would have got. a
Oh,
lot of
it was on. Like it was always on every Friday night, like in the kitchen, and everyone was watching it. And but I remember stand-up wise, it was kind of more. I remember because whenever I was at like the Attack, I used to go down to like X Division,
Right.
and back in the day.
Videos.
And there was always like a bargain bin, and I used to get one every night, and then I go home and watch it. And for some reason, I went like stand up was never massive in our house. Like you would have known of Billy Connolly and all, but it was never anything major that parents would never went or anything. I remember I seen this DVD, and it was like bright blue and green. And I don't know why I bought it to this day. And I remember buying it, and I brought it home and watched it, and it was Tommy Tiernan's first special.
Right.
And from that, it was just like
You're hooked.
I couldn't get over how a guy could just like
Talk.
talk for an hour and just
Yeah.
everyone, be
And that's when you
entertained.
decided that's what I want to do.
I kind of was like, I was infatuated with it. I was like, I kept watching it over and over and over again. But again, at that time, even it was like way out, like it was unimaginable to be fit to do that. Like I remember, I was about 16, 17. I remember bringing my girlfriend at the time to a pizza place in Campsie, and I was like, I
Oh,
think
the glamour.
I know, I
You
think
spoiled her.
the others didn't stay with me. And I remember going, I think I might quit school, and do stand up. And she was like, what? And I think it was the biggest laugh I've ever got in my career, that. And at that time, really, there was very few making a living at it, like
Yeah.
in the country in general.
Not like now.
Not like now, or anyone with a Jack Russell and a microphone can make it. Like, and sure enough, I was like, maybe you're right, and she was right. So I kind of just stayed at school and stuff a few years.
She was
And
right.
were you a funny guy like in school and stuff?
Oh no, I was the quiet guy.
Right.
I was the guy who said very little.
Were you a funny family, big family? Were they
I'm sure every family from here is all funny, really. Unintentionally funny, kind of. No, like real performers or anything, nothing.
Right.
But no, like most of my tickets early days was people going, that Mark McCarney? People from school going, couldn't be that same fella that I know. So no, I was very quiet, wasn't the class clown or anything like.
Right. So you just got into it then, what, early 20s or something?
I didn't do my first gig till I was 27.
All right. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, I had a whole life before I even
Jeez,
started.
we had a career before. We were 27. We won an RTS award when we were 27.
Yeah. Late bloomer.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
But I don't know how, like, I have friends there, like, that started when they were like 16, 17. I was like, I don't understand how you could even, what do
Yeah.
you talk about at 16, 17 on stage, like?
Well,
So
Kevin Bridges started when he was 16.
That's right,
17,
aye.
So, like, you know,
But no, I couldn't imagine, even if I went back then, I don't think I could have started at that age
you
at
needed
all.
some life experience.
Yeah.
And what would you have been if you hadn't have gone into the stand-up then?
Probably
What
dead,
what were you
maybe.
destined for?
God knows. Really, God knows.
Right, there was no other interest. It was just
Well, I'm interested in kind of I do like the whole like technical aspects of like videoing and like the podcasts and stuff like that there. So probably would have been something more behind the scenes. I do enjoy more behind the scenes than I do in front of it, to be honest.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are you a nervous performer? Do you get nervous?
Yeah, but then I found out that most people do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm
So
always
it's-
nervous going on.
It's quite normal, but at the start you're kind of like, oh, it's obviously just me because you see everyone all cool and calm. But then as you get to know them, they're like, no, you're shitting yourself underneath. Like you just get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
But I'd be more content with doing more behind the scenes stuff than I would be.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Do you know? Well, you must love performing though, do you?
Not overly, no.
No, really. You don't like.
I love the work.
Don't like it. You love the money or the what?
No, the work of it is like the coming up with the bits and stuff like that there.
Right.
I enjoy. And then when it comes to time of the gig, I'm like, oh, jeez, why did I say hi to this?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of a thing.
So do you like the writing bit then? Do you?
I do like the coming up
See,
with
that's
ideas.
the worst bit for me. I hate the writing bit. That's a hard bit. That's doing it's kind of easy.
I know, but it's very exciting when you get an idea in your head and you're like, oh, I can't wait to try this. I
Right.
want to see if this works or something like that there. It's the figuring out that I enjoy more
Right.
than the end product.
And see, we're very lucky. Well, I write stand up on my own, but I also work with these two guys. Well, there's one missing. There's one missing. Michael's not here. We write Give Me a Headpiece and all other things as well, but we get instant editing. So, like, if there's three of us in a room and somebody comes up with a joke or an idea, and two people go, "That's a lot of crap. It's not going anywhere." You know,
Yeah.
two people go, "That's funny," and we pursue it. But if you're on your own, can you not get into a groove and go, "This is hilarious," and and then find out later.
That is the frustrating bit about it. Like you could come
this
up with
is
a
no
bit
good.
now and you're like, but I'm not on stage this Saturday.
Yeah.
So it just sits and festers with you. Whereas you were saying there, when you're working together, you can kind of filter it.
Yeah.
it's brutal.
It
We
is
work
brutal.
together, the three of us, because just one of us thinks something's funny. He's like, no, that's shit.
Sure, it's nice to do it in front of your friends.
That's the end of it. You know?
Yeah.
Instead of an audience of 200.
Well, that's true.
You know what I mean? But so I've never really had that. Like, is that what way did you produce the show? Did you would you write a full season?
Of Give Me a Headpiece.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah. We wrote 2 Ceasefires and a Wedding, which went very well, and then they give us a series of it a few years later, and we sat down and wrote the 6 episodes, didn't we? 6 episodes fairly quickly, and then when we were filming them, the BBC came back to us and said, "We're very happy with this. Do you want another 6?" And us then, we went, no problem, got another 6 here. And the 3 of us went, we put every single comedy idea we had into, we had 3 hours of stuff, 6 half-hour episodes, and we thought, well, we've said everything, we've done everything, all the jokes are done.
Yeah.
And 26 years later, we're still getting away. But once you get a deadline, once you get a contract, deadlines are important.
Yeah.
And David Hull did this to me a couple of times. I said I'd do a stand-up show, a solo show years and years ago, and I kept talking about it. And he said, "I've booked you in to the Belfast Festival in November or whatever it was, and this was August, so you had to write it. And that's the other way you would have just talked about it and sat around and scratched
sink
your
or
arse.
swim
and
just.
done.
Must do is a great master.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is that how you work then? Well, I suppose you've got the level now that you've got gigs and all over the place, haven't you?
Yeah, it is. It is all over the place, and that's a kind of part I hate about it too. Because I'd like to work at like one project at a time, and it's always like, oh, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and maybe then you get an idea for a video, and you're like, oh, I can't get to that, and stuff like that there.
Because you have a big online presence as well.
Well, it's not essentially massive, but I did come out of the gate. Like I started. I think a lot of people think that I done a lot of online videos, got a bit of heat, and then thought, oh, I need to monetize this. But I done stand up before.
Right.
I done the videos. Like it was only like a couple, like 6 or 7 months, right enough. But I remember like I done 3 gigs and then I quit the job, which was.
Oh right, did you?
I was very stupid looking back.
That was very brave. What
I don't know
was
if it
the
was
job?
brave or stupid or I was just like working in IT and computers and stuff like that there.
I can always go back to that sort of thing.
It was kind of like, I had a business.
Oh right,
So I had the business.
It was your business?
It was my business. And I had a premises and everything. And
seriously?
Yeah. And I remember I done my first gig in the PAV up here in Belfast.
Pavilion,
And done okay. And then the second one, I bombed. I ate shit hard that time. But that one I enjoyed more.
Right.
Weirdly, because I remember going down the road thinking, kind of tweaking it.
Right.
And
You
going,
analysing where it went
how
wrong.
can I make it... When you do well, it's grand, but you just go home and you watch TV and you eat pot noodles or whatever. But if you bomb, then I'm like, I can't wait to get home to kind of figure out where
this went
wrong. And then my third gig then, Connor Keys was at that second one. And
Connor, who runs the
Dailies in Oma, and he's like, I want you to come down to Dailies next month and do that same
and
set.
make me look good.
And he was like another throne guy. It was where these who's coming out of. And I went and it was grand. And then at that point, I was just like, I want to do this
full time.
But at that time, like there was no like it's even then like this was before. There was no path to making a living at this. Like at that time, even like this was 2018,
Right.
19 maybe.
Yeah, I suppose that's before Shane and all that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before
Has it changed that much?
podcasting?
Like even in
Oh,
5 years?
absolutely.
5 years has completely
Oh,
transformed.
completely changed. It's like there was no like saying you do a live podcast in the SSE was a ridiculous kind of a notion. Like and now you can do it, but back then like the guys were just starting to kind of. I remember there was like in around the time the guys done like a joint show in the Ulster Hall. It was like 6 of them. It was like Shane and
Colin
Nicky and
Geddes.
Colin and all. And even I remember Colin saying they thought, "Oh, we're never going to sell this," and now any one of them could sell it out on their own. Like, so there was a time where they're like, you kind of didn't know if this was going to be a career or not. But it kind of was like, I'd rather do it and not make much money and like the job than hate my job and make money. So.
Colin start with I Am Fighter, and that kind of went huge. And then
Yeah,
it expanded.
Colin's thing. Colin, like I remember, I was at the Attack when Colin done I Am Fighter, and it was a big revelation for me because I was like, because he was like the first guy that. I was like, oh, you can do it here, but you can do it yourself here.
Yeah.
You didn't need to kind of go to anyone. You just get a camera and just work it and edit yourself. And I remember being obsessed with I Am Fighter, and this is before I even knew Colin. And that was a big thing for me. I remember coming out and I was like, maybe it is possible to do something in this country. Because at the time, there was the TV, radio, and that was kind of it. Like. And
we had that sewn up. Is that what
Ah,
you said?
yeah. Just had it under
We
the
had that
coat.
closed shop. We were kicking all the comedians away. Back off, you're not
I was
funny.
writing letters to you flat out. Then. You never responded.
Yeah, but I mean, we were a certain age, but we missed that whole kind of the internet. What? Do it yourself? No. We need 3 cameramen and a lighting guy and a BBC producer and an editor and all of that.
Yeah,
and everybody was just doing it themselves and getting huge numbers.
Yeah, the internet was like a massive thing that you could do, and then especially with COVID, everyone went indoors, and then comedians could do anything else, only podcasts and make videos and make content.
And did you find your voice fairly quickly? Just dirty old talk and
Yeah, it
stuff
was.
about,
Now it was kind of the first
dirty old talk. And you did the videos round Enniskillen and round.
Well, my idea was.
And,
it was supposed to be like a spoof of Lesser Spotted Ulster.
yes.
Was supposed
Oh,
to
how
be.
could you have a spoof on Joe Mahan? Leave Joe Mahan alone. The man's a legend.
He does it all right himself. But I was like that there. And I remember telling a friend about it about a year before, and he was like, "Oh, geez, don't do that." And I remember it stayed with.
Don't do that.
I remember telling him the idea, and he was like, "Don't ever tell anyone about doing that." And it stayed with me for about a year. And I remember then, because I'd left the job, so there was days that I had no stand up or nothing to do. So I was like, "I'm just going to go make this," and I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I remember I just got the camera, and I went into Enniskillen one day, and I shot the whole day. Tuck it home.
Did somebody shoot you? Or
No, don't all
when you
myself.
did all your, what, you set
Just
the camera
set
up and
the
did a wee
tripod
thing and then
in front of it.
and then edited it.
Took it home and went, this is shite. I put it all edited together. Like, this is bad. But then when I looked at it, I was like, I know where I need to put this, that, and on. So I went back the next day at 4 o'clock in the morning, so there wasn't many people about,
Right.
and recorded the whole thing again, and then released it. And this was in around the time when like I had very little followers running online. So I remember posting it practically into the void.
Yeah.
There was nobody kind of watching.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting with the laptop, my knee, just hitting refresh, and just went 1,000 views, 5,000 views, 10,000 views. And I got like 50,000 views in 20 minutes. And I was like, what have I done? Because it was in Enniskillen, which isn't
Right.
far from me. And I was like, I'm pretty much slandering these people to no end. But they all seem to take
Yeah.
it quite well. I don't
Yeah,
know.
everybody likes to have the piss taken out of them.
Yeah. At the time, people were like, "Oh, you were smart. You knew that was kind of like, people like taking the piss to the towns."
Right.
I was like, I didn't know that at all. And then so I done that in Enniskillen, and then I done the Bundoran one, which was
Yes, the Bundoran one.
Bundoran one took off, and then I done like a Christmas one.
Have you done Fintna?
No, I haven't done Fitna now.
Right, you haven't done
I haven't
Fintna.
done many altogether. It was really only them 3. I kind of did take the foot of the pedal a bit because I was like, I wanted to get way better at stand-up. I could think of nothing worse than having a big online following and filling big venues and your stand-up not to scratch.
Right,
As I was like, I kind of want me following to build with my skills of stand-up kind of a thing.
right.
So I really did pull back from the whole social media there for a right while. Like I don't really post that much or anything, but
And concentrating on the stand-up.
constantly on the stand-up pretty much. See, I never had that like all of my idols or the people who were like they suffered for about 20 years.
Yeah.
They say it takes about 20 years of suffering to make a good stand-up. I had 6 months of that. Of doing open mics and not getting paid and stuff like that there. I had very little of that. So now when I have a chance, I do wee open mics and wee stuff like that
Right.
there. So I can kind of earn me crust and earn it kind of.
And there's so many gigs all around the country now that you can gig every night of the week, can't you?
Oh, you could, you could plan it, you could. Like this past while, I've been going up and doing Maddens of a Tuesday night.
All right.
And
Oh,
then,
Madden's is tiny.
Yeah, but great.
Oh, yeah, I've done it. I've done it once. It's
Yeah.
upstairs in Madden's bar. It's about 40, 50 people or something.
Yeah, well, the last time I done it, there was 2 paying members and the rest were open mic comedians. And then I went over to the Empire. So I was over last
right.
week you were on, so I just did
Yeah.
over that. And so yeah, you can do that there. And then you have Lavery's on Wednesday and Thursday. Then usually go out in the country all the weekend.
Right.
So.
So you've a lot of driving to do from Fintna, do you? Or there are no gigs in Fintna?
Well, there's dailies in Oma.
Right.
And then we used to do the shows in Enniskillen.
Right.
So there was one there too. And then...
There was the one on Blake's in the Hollow, wasn't there, years ago?
that was even before. I haven't even gigged in it.
Alright.
There's Pat's we used to do.
Right.
Pat's Comedy Club.
Blake's in the Hollow was lovely.
And how often do you have to refresh your act? Like
Every 10 years, I do. Well,
Yeah, well, like when I got into stand-up,
you still do jokes that are 20 years old.
they're very funny jokes.
Funny jokes. Yes. Not
that's
disputing
well,
that.
growing up, you're like, sure, Seinfeld still does the same hour that he's been doing this past 15 years.
Well, as John Lanahan, May McFedrick says, because he's been doing
Certain
he's doing
jokes.
the same jokes, for more than for 30 odd years. And
Yeah.
as John says, when they stop laughing, I'll stop doing them.
Not good enough. I have the same mantra. With new material all the time. I think people say a year, but I think a year's not enough. Like maybe if you're doing stand-up, if that's all you had to concentrate on, maybe.
Yeah.
But when you're doing podcasts and other stuff, it's kind of impossible. I think a year and a half, 2 years.
For a new show.
I think so. Yeah.
And you have a brand new show at the minute
I have this tour show coming now in August.
in August, and people should run out and buy tickets to see you.
Well, hopefully.
And it's called No Better Man.
That's right.
No Better Man. Is that a culty saying? Or don't know.
It was kind of my last line of my last hour.
Right.
I can't even remember the bit, but I just remember that was the last thing I said was No Better Man. So
Right.
That was, as somebody said to me, a friend of mine, was like, you should call that your next show No Better Man. So.
And for Damon, who doesn't, because I've seen you a couple of times. I saw you in the Maldron up in Derry there a few weeks ago. Which is good. Tell him exactly what your shtick is. You like to talk about ladies,
Girls?
girls.
Is this a
You like to
different
talk about-
podcast?
No.
I'll be doing a different one.
No. It's basically culty dating.
Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't
Culty
recommend it at all, Damon.
It's culty dating. because it's a different concept to urban dating, is it?
Think so?
Yeah, I think
Right.
Well, the way you tell it, it is.
Was that blue buzzer date?
Oh, yeah, very blue now. Wouldn't be great now. Not very Christian at all. But stand-up to me was always the art of saying the wrong things right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it was always,
That's
and I do think there is
a
a reason why it has thrived too, is because like personally, whenever like stand-up that I was into, I was like, I feel like I shouldn't be hearing this.
Exactly.
You know, that kind of a
But you could give the same joke to different people and it wouldn't go down.
true,
It
yeah,
would be
true.
taken completely, the wrong. It is how it's delivered. and
yeah,
how it's-
exactly.
How it's done.
Yeah.
What I like about your stuff is that not only is it very fun, but you have a very nice turn of phrase in that I can see that the work is honed. It's not just the first sentence that comes to mind. It's the way you kind of twist words and twist a phrase to make it sound even funnier. A mundane phrase that you can turn into something very amusing.
Think so?
Yes, I think it seems to me that you work at that. I mean, that is a compliment, by the way.
There's
You don't
bits,
just-
there is times there I'd be on stage and people would laugh, and I'm like, I don't know why these people are laughing. And it would just be like a phrase from home or something
Yeah.
like that there that I wouldn't even really think like. But I suppose there is a difference. Like I remember whenever I first started stand up, I was just like, because even coming up to Belfast was like, it was like going to
big
gas.
smoke.
Like it was a completely different. Like I remember the first gig I'd done. I remember lying. I remember I was so embarrassed about saying I was doing stand up, but I think it said that I was going to the pictures. I remember coming home and she's like, geez, I was doing long films. I was away for about 8 hours. And I remember going, these people aren't going to understand a word I'm saying. Like, where does
Is there a lot of
culture?
cultural discrimination? Should we be? Should
Well,
you,
I think
do
I
you
was-
need an equality act to
I
to
was
help?
one of the first on the scene. I feel I was paving the path for everyone after me. But actually, I remember doing. But I've always felt Belfast was a real good home for it. Like I always
Yeah.
loved coming up to Belfast, and they're always real good to me. And
Right. So we're not taking the piss out of you just for being from the country, because I like country people. Country people, they have a different view of life.
oh, they
It's
were a
about-
different
they-
time zone. Like
Yeah.
they're a different working to them, but
Yeah.
there's no harm in them.
What's the difference between your outlook and the urban outlook? What do you? Is it gentler? Is it quieter?
Probably
is
just
it
more concrete for you.
less greenery.
It'd be maybe a lot more slow thought, I suppose.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be as fast paced, I suppose.
which is nice. Which is kind of
You kind of ruminate more on the filth.
well, that's yeah.
And
you
you
do,
should, you know.
ruminate.
Yeah. You just drive past the manure, we just live in it, kind of a thing. But no, apart from like, it's not really. It's not a big. But it is a funny thing. Like Aaron McCann's a good friend of mine, and he lives in Oma, which is 20 minutes from me. But his upbringing was completely different from mine.
Yeah.
Even though we're only literally down the road from each other, And I suppose there is this small country, but with so many.
Yeah, I mean,
differences,
there's like I think I read there's about approximately 1,200 people live in Ventana. Do you know every one of them?
Us even overestimating, I'd
Yeah.
say. They're doubling up at that, I'd say. That's a scam, that. Yeah, they would. No, I wouldn't know them all. See, wait, I even live outside of Fentana, so I'm not
Oh, right,
even in
right.
the town. I am legit arsehole of nowhere.
Right.
I've been pretty much right in between Oman and Scan,
Right.
right in the countryside there. So
there literally is nothing to do but to write jokes.
there's literally nothing to do. Only write jokes is right.
Yeah.
And hope the gas comes shortly.
Yeah, well, I grew up in West Belfast. I used to live our houses in Riverdale faced the M1 motorway,
Yes.
and when I left home and went some, I couldn't sleep at night because it was too quiet. I couldn't hear the
Yeah. Well,
sound of the traffic every night.
Yeah. Well, my mother's from Fermanagh, and they lived in the town.
Yeah.
So from I was no age. The thing was, we were in the countryside in Fentana during the week, and then come the weekend I'd visit my grandmother and listen to ski, and I'd be in the town, and I'd get down there and I couldn't sleep because it was so noisy. But then by the time Sunday would come round and we were back to the house again, I couldn't sleep because it was so quiet.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it went for years and years and years. So you do get, there is a different timing, I suppose, to the whole thing, and you get used to it.
So you're on tour with No Better Man. You're coming to Belfast in December, is it, in the Mandela?
Yeah,
Oh.
Mandela, huh?
Where there's going to be a very good show, by the way, on the 12th of October. the Give My Head podcast.
yes.
Oh,
Give My Head podcast live.
Yeah, you'll be good. But you've already sold out one, and one is coming. Yeah.
There's another one apparently.
And
They don't tell me much, but
they don't tell you much.
No.
So solo shows, and you've got an hour to fill. What do you do? An hour 10, something like that? An hour?
no, I think 50, 55.
Oh, stop. Well, I did an hour 10. I did 70 minutes. I'm doing too much.
Somebody,
actually.
I sometimes will go to shows and stuff, and I'll be looking out of the audience, and you can see at 40 minutes they start going,
Yeah.
they start slumping.
Well, not in my show. They loved it.
that's
we wanted
it.
more.
But and shows I've been at, I was like, 50 minutes was always the sweet spot.
50?
I always thought that was
So
a
you
perfect
think you can get
time.
away with a solo show at 50 minutes?
I think, as long as it's good.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Aye. Yeah,
Taking
if
as
it was
read.
50 minutes of
Taking
waffling.
as read, Mr. McCarney.
Yes, but that's like 50 minutes of pure material, is it?
Yeah.
That's not all, who are you and what do you do? and
No,
who's
well,
your
I'm no
friend
good at
and-
crowd work at all.
and
'Cause
all
it
that
just-
sort of thing,
It comes
and,
across
you know,
as hateful.
Just, but I call
What
it
do you
people-
want? So I don't speak to them at all.
Yeah, I don't like crowd work either. But
Yeah,
you did
yeah.
a bit of anti-crowd work, if I remember, in the Maldron, did you?
There was a woman that wouldn't shut her mouth. Remember?
Yes.
Mother Teresa or something. You call her.
Yes. Bloody
If
woman.
somebody's
So-
chatting and there's no security, you kind of have to go. But it's never smart. It's just you just
no,
look at
she
them and go,
was
"Will
just
you
drunk.
shut up?" Kind of a thing, like.
Yeah. she spoiled-
right, so just noise.
Spoiled
Yeah,
every
yeah.
punchline.
I wouldn't be a big I know there's a lot of crowd work clips and stuff. I wouldn't be into that
No.
at all. Like if you're an MC or whatever, fair enough.
Yes.
You need that there, but if you're an actor or whatever, I would never.
So,
really-
where are you from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a terrible hoodie. Yeah.
Yeah, all that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. And what's your girlfriend do? Is she
yeah.
your girlfriend or is she
Yeah,
your
yeah.
wife or all
No,
that stuff?
it's the material I'm interested
Does your
in.
wife know you're with her tonight? No, I know.
Yeah.
That's
I wouldn't be into
John
that at
Lennon's
all.
career. No, Neil Delamere is very good at it. Neil Delamere does.
It is a
kind of
completely
It is a
different-
different skill.
it is
and
a
he's
different skill
very,
set
very
from doing
smart,
stand-up, yeah.
And he does crowd work, and what he does is he brings them all together at the end. And
Yeah.
Very, very quick and very smart.
But I call it minute eaters because it's like it means you don't have to have as much material.
That's right. That's it.
So
I mean,
you know,
sometimes you have.
Maybe
like,
you've got like 10 minutes of material so you can get an hour.
you get another 20 out of that.
20
maybe,
out of that, yeah.
Mickey's another great man. Mickey Bartlett.
yes.
But he can do the crowd work and he can do the material.
Yeah.
And he can meld it the very best. Like, but I never had any interest in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Who would you recommend? Of our audience is slightly older, more mature people. Obviously, they're going to buy tickets to see you. Who else would you rate locally?
Yes, apart from like
Tim McGarry.
apart from the whole New Wall gang and the Jimmy Headpiece, being geniuses, and inspiring you, and you did say Tommy Tiernan. Who else would you say would be up there with us? Like,
Oh God, boys, is Pryor still about?
Bill Hicks, you said.
Bill Hicks, he's a new up and comer. Like locally, who would
Yeah,
well,
locally
Billy
there's a-
Connolly's alright, isn't it?
Well, locally there's a lot of good acts coming through. We were talking about Leanne McCooey, who
Yeah.
has been a guest on this show.
Big fan of Leanne,
And
eh?
Leanne is brilliant.
Yeah.
With Teresa Livingston, Emer McGuire, brilliant.
Yeah.
I have to get Colin Geddes on. I haven't had Colin on this show.
Well, the strange thing is, like, I remember, like, there was like a first wave of like new generations, like Shane and Mickey and Colin and Aaron and Kieran and all. And them boys were there about for a few years. And then there was like the second wave, which was
Yeah.
like me and William Thompson and James McKeagney and Jordan Robinson all started. And there would have been a time where I could have named you every single act
Yeah.
in the country. And then this past while, I've been going to gigs and the lineup was like, I don't know who half these people are. Like, there's so many young ones at it now starting and all. But
Is that a
Leanne,
bad thing or a good thing?
I think it's great. I mean, I do think for such a small place, we do punch above our weight for comedy. Like, and I was in New York there a couple of months ago when we went to a few comedy gigs and like prestigious places that you always thought was the top of the top.
Yeah.
And I was like, Empire and Lavery's would
Yeah,
knock this
not
place
great,
on
yeah.
its end. Like,
Yeah.
so no, I think it's great to see all these new ones and new voices and different. And
And is there a good variety of those comedians, or is it all filled?
no, I think there's a very good variety. Yeah.
Right.
There's a very good
Is there a
variety.
good range of comedians? Like
Yeah,
doing
100%.
different things?
I mean, there was a time where there was just a couple of fellas, but now this past while, like, there's more women, there's more people from different countries and that grew up here, and they're very, very varied lineups. I think now this past while, thankfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
was
mean-
New York like? Was it good? You doing gigs over there?
We done a wee pop up gig, in Manhattan. And I mean, you go in, and you're all nervous, and you're like,
Is it all tourists or is it?
well, you kind of go. That's me. You're like, what am I going to say to these Americans? Are they going to understand? Are they going to understand what spar is and stuff like that? There,
You had trouble getting in now, would you?
you go in now. Sure, in the front rows, there's boys from Fentona. You're like, we may as well done this at home, boys. We did. I done a gig in Toronto like not last St. Paddy's Day, the one before, and it was just all ones from home.
Is that right?
Aye, and I was just like, why did we even bother coming here? I could have done it in dailies.
I was in Canada a few years ago at a couple of comedy clubs, and they're very polite. Canadian, they don't heckle. They're awfully nice.
Oh, aye, very
They're
nice
very
people.
nice.
Yeah.
They don't shout at you or do you, and they, in fact, they were too polite because most of the comedians were a bit shite.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, like I was in the Empire there. I hadn't been in years, and I couldn't believe how well behaved the audience were. Because when we
I
started
suppose.
out, I mean, the Empire was a bear pit.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was like, but they got very, you know, they got very sophisticated audiences now.
I suppose they're more stand-up savvy.
Yeah.
Sure, Netflix is full of it. YouTube is full of it. They kind of
But if somebody starts being an arse when you're doing your act, it's more likely that somebody in the audience will tell him, "You shut up."
Ah, yeah, 100%.
They'll probably not have to put him down.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody will give him a slap.
Yeah, yeah. Or a lot of times you don't even hear what they're saying.
Aye.
It's just a mutter. Like hackles. I think the worst hackle I ever got was in Lavery's, and I remember saying where I was down near home and somebody just mooed. Just moo.
Aye.
And then I was like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "In Enniskillen." I was like, "Well, you're down in the sticks with me. What are you talking about?" But there was no I've never had one where it's been. I went home and kind of cried myself to sleep over. It's never smart.
It was one of the best
never
put
smart.
downs I ever heard was Frank Skinner. It was out, and we did Edinburgh like in the late '80s, and God, it was a bear pit. Most of the places,
Yeah, yeah.
even worse than anything we even done in the Empire. I mean, it was grim.
Yeah.
And Frank Skinner, and he just spent like about the first half hour putting people down
It was a late and live
know?
show. Yeah.
before he even started his act, because it was just full on abuse.
Yeah.
And he come on anyway, and somebody's in the audience, and he goes, and he goes, "What did you say? Sorry?" He says, "Sorry?" He goes, and he says, "No, I heard what you said. I'm just sorry."
Yeah.
And he just ends up just, working the hecklers.
Yeah,
till he
yeah,
got
yeah.
them to shut up. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, as you say, the crowd will usually has no patience for it now. Like they'll sort it out usually before you even get to it. Like,
yeah.
but no, I think the hackles hasn't been too bad. I've never had to.
Yeah.
Security will usually, if they're very drunk and disruptive, security will usually
should take them out.
Yeah.
take them out
Yeah.
before you'll even mention to them.
No, but it has. I mean, it's
Most of the clubs are
come
well
on.
run now. And
Aye,
yeah.
this is it. Like it's not too bad.
I was in Lavery's last year, did a couple of shows, and it was great.
Yeah.
Kind of depressing, and I was the oldest person there by about 30 years out of that.
They were glad to see you. I heard you were
They were
there and you
glad,
killed it. Aye.
And I killed it. They loved all my stuff about the B specials.
Yeah, yeah,
Partition.
Well, you still have a fair smattering of politics and stuff.
I do a bit of politics. You don't do any political stuff, do you?
Well, it's weird because
do you do any
I never.
satire or topical humour?
No, never.
But
never.
are none of the youngsters doing politics now?
Not really.
See, it kind of passed me. Like I never seen any of that at all, and like it was never. It was never part of like if it like. It is weird, like you grew up in this country and you kind of go think that it is the Troubles and all the party, but it's kind of skipped by me, especially down where we are. Like it was very quiet.
Well, I think the
and it was
politicians
very-
have succeeded in boring the arse off everybody, so nobody really
exactly.
cares,
No
you know.
one, no one really cares anymore. Like and,
We're not shooting each other. That's fine. Yeah, let's go
yeah,
on with
yeah,
it. You know?
yeah, 100%.
But so you don't do any jokes about prods or different from.
I've done
Catholics,
bits and
'cause
like,
don't tread on our territory because it's very, very.
yeah, yeah. I remember one thing
You know
I
the
done.
Catholics are different from Protestants, by the way, don't you?
Oh, I've heard that. I've heard that. Is the age or something? Is it? I did one thing one time in a video, and it was so stupid. But it is always the stupid things that take. I remember it was in a Skillen video,
Yeah.
and I remember I had the camera set up, and I was recording, and I was in front of the new Devonish Island,
Yes.
and then outside Enniskillen. And I don't know why I said it or what I even thought it was about, but I remember just pointing and going, Arlene Foster lays her eggs over there. And it was so silly and stupid, but I kept it in. But for some reason, it took off.
Right.
And people were sending me videos of seeing Arlene going, Arlene, did you lay your eggs over there, did you? And I felt wild bad after it. I was like, oh, this poor woman's probably like, what is this about? Like, it made no absolute sense whatsoever. I think that was the height of my topical political speech.
That was it.
And that was pretty much it.
So you've insulted Arlene Foster and Joe Mahan.
Ah, yeah,
You are,
I know,
You
I know.
are in trouble, my friend.
What about you in the show? Did you ever get anyone saying anything to you? Or?
Occasionally, people took umbrage at stuff. We had a sketch on a sketch show that went rather badly. Do you remember that in the show? We'll not go into detail, but basically we lost a lot of gigs in GAA clubs over the head.
Oh,
Let's
right,
just say that. Let's just say a tour was kind of
probably done you a favour.
cancelled, and there were angry letters written to certain newspapers about how unacceptable we were for a thing we did on TV. And somebody rang up a senior politician and said, "How offended are you about that sketch that was on last night?" And go, "I didn't see it." "Well, you should be very offended." And he said, "Okay, put me down for being offended." And then this thing
I hope
blew
you
up.
kept the letter.
But most politicians kind of accept that. I think because Give My Head piece got so big, and it was clearly everybody, all sides were enjoying it. So if you come out and said I didn't like it,
made you look bad.
But when we first started, there were still people shooting each other and stuff, and there were a few people saying, "Oh, you can't make jokes because it's
bring the tone down a wee
too
bit."
terrible, and the situation is awful, and you can't make jokes about the situation." Situation, but your great answer was MASH. You know, the great sitcom set in the Korean War. You know, I think if anything does.
You say me, you can't do Northern Ireland because it's a conflict and it's a war zone. And
people are getting killed.
I used to say MASH,
Yeah.
the most successful sitcom, probably. It's up there with that's one of the top sitcoms.
Right.
Like middle of the Korean War.
Whenever you were doing the live shows, was there anyone that kind of would like have said anything or?
We
bombed
occasionally we did a show in Derry once. Do you remember? There was a nasty period. It was one of those drum crees that got out of hand, and there was a fella in Derry. There was a nasty incident in Derry, and we used to do this thing. We used to do a sketch called Jerry and the Peacemakers. This was before they made Jerry Adams come out and singing songs about
coming out of bushes.
Jerry and the Peacemakers, and they also threw in a few Republican slogans. And some of the guys in Derry were taking the Republican slogans more seriously than they should have done, and we're cheering. And we're going, no, we're taking the piss out of this. We're satirising this. And there were a few occasions that, and you still now and again you get, especially on Twitter and stuff, you get "you're not funny" and I get that I'm a sectarian bigot and all that from both sides occasionally, which is always it's kind of comforting in that sense.
Yeah.
You know, but
we once had an interloper in I think we were doing a show to a bunch of students in Coleraine, and it was the interval. I'm sitting in the dressing room in the interval, and we're all sitting having a beer and going back on, waiting to go on for the next, the second half, and this drunken student staggered in, and he sort of glares at me, he coughed through, like, and sort of looking at him going, "Oh yeah," and I said, "Can I help you?" He goes, "Here, hanging on that fucking stage." I said, "Are you?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because I'm fucking funnier than you." And I said, "By all means, there's the stage there. Bring it on in about 5 minutes. You're funnier than me. I assure you, you're not. But by all means, go on and try."
Yeah.
But he took one look at the stage and he went, off he went.
Big man, did he have to do it?
Yeah. No, we've been, but very few comedians are political these days. Very few of them.
You get a bit here and there, and it is like there is sometimes you hear people say about the local boys are doing local humour. You're like, every comedian's a local comedian. Like if you go to the States,
it's all about
Dave Chappelle's doing about black people and white people. Is saying Florida's a kip. We do the same with Lauren.
Yeah.
And Kellingham. It's the same thing. And you go to Australia.
It's the first time Lauren and Florida have been compared, but we'll go.
It's just not as warm, Lauren. But it is the same. If you watch stand-up, it's the exact same kind of tropes, and because you're talking about your life. A lot of it's coming from your upbringing and your life and stuff, so it's natural that stuff's going to come.
Yes, most of it's from lived experience.
Exactly, 100%.
You manage yourself, don't you? You don't have a...
Well, it's not much of a career to manage.
Well, hang on, I could take a percentage of it if you want.
Essentially, but I never, if I had a manager, he'd be livid because I say no to an awful lot of stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What sort of stuff do you say no to?
Oh, don't do a lot of podcasts.
We're privileged. Thank you very much.
I haven't. I've been asked. Was asked to do a TV thing one time. I was like,
were you?
What? It was a stand-up show.
Right.
It was recorded in the Sunflower.
Right.
Yes.
It's the BBC.
Yeah.
I think was that UTV?
No, BBC.
Oh, was that
No,
the
it was BBC. Aye.
Oh, it was the BBC one. Oh, yes, right.
And I was like, fellas, I'd be wasting your time because you couldn't use any of the material, let's say, at the time. So I don't. I just kind of do the stand-up and I do my own videos and podcasts and kind of stuff like that there. But
and you book all your own gigs then, so you book your own tour.
Seriously. But then people will just like. Thankfully, when you're in the scene, you're friendly with the people that run these shows, and they'll just text you. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. And then you'll do maybe a big tour show or a big show, and then somebody will plan it.
So you ring up the theatres and go, Can I
Well, this
say?
tour now it was a promotions company that kind of organised it, but I've done shows with them before, so I kind of knew who they are and stuff like that there. But yeah, like a majority of them will be
But
just.
you're turning work down.
Aye,
Right.
eventually.
You definitely need a manager.
I know. But no, I don't.
But you're making a living. You're making a living.
Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that I am, but it is
Oh.
possible.
Right. Okay. A good living, or I don't
Yeah.
need to know figures, but
Yeah, grand.
See, that's a culty answer.
yeah.
Okay, you know yourself.
The mattress is full.
You know
100%,
yourself,
yeah.
sure. Okay, you
I can
know.
go out for my dinner and a pint on Sunday. What more do you want?
Colin Murphy used to do this routine about farmers. They never tell you how much money they have. You know, you knew the farmer had won
Well,
the lottery.
I owe the credit union $6,000, so I'm in,
6
I'm in
grand?
a deficit really. Or
Right,
anything
okay.
else. But apart from that,
Fintan, the credit union, knows all about how well you're doing.
oh, they
does
know,
it?
they know me the very best.
But you're still paying in regularly.
still paying in, still getting interest.
Right,
on the
good,
Well,
percent.
that was the famous Charlie Hawley thing.
Well,
Was he's made Taoiseach.
Charlie.
First time he's made Taoiseach, and I think it was 79, wasn't it? He became Taoiseach. He owed the bank a $250,000, was it? Or was it $500,000? Something, a lot of money, right in there. So, of course, but then he had this very ostentatious life, and everybody was wondering, like, you know, how could he and how he's sitting there. He's just been made Taoiseach, and he just says, you know, everybody says that where's the source of your wealth? Like you've got these big house and everything, and
He lived
you know,
on
you've
an
got
island or
yeah, he had his own island, and he goes, no, I'm not a rich man, and he just looks right down the camera and he goes, ask my bank manager.
Yeah, he's keeping them.
So I mean,
Every
he's
rich
like,
man say they're not rich men.
yeah. No, but how he lived on an overdraft, like.
Yeah. So they say the worst thing you can have now is money. Any rich man you ask to go, I make about £1 a year, everything's in dividends and stuff.
Yeah, and it's got too polite now. You can't even the comedy gigs. It's got all professional now. You don't get cash in hand like you used to.
Yeah.
No, that was a
it's all-
COVID thing.
That was
Everything
it's
went
all
to-
bloody banks and all
everything
that. And
went
give us your bank details. Give me your bank. Meet me in the toilet and give me
Yeah,
an
yeah,
envelope.
Remember the time the German film crew come over and they handed us marks
Oh, why?
back before the Euro?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they wanted to come over and do a thing about Northern Irish comedians. This is way back, like 90s. Like.
Yes.
And
How can you be funny in the middle of a war? That's all.
yeah,
Yes.
type of thing. And remember, he was talking to you on the phone. He says, "And don't worry, when we're there, someone will be there to distribute the marks." Right? You go. You thought he was joking.
Yeah.
And literally, they did the thing, and then the guy just took this big wad of marks, literally German marks, and handed us this big wad, counted out these marks.
If anybody from the Inland Revenue is watching, we reported that, and that was you can speak to our
Certainly
accountant.
did.
We reported that, and
Yeah,
that
it was spent before he's left.
Yeah.
was it?
Tax was
Everything?
paid.
Tax
Yeah.
was paid,
no
and now
right,
you
right.
have to pay your tax because they don't give you brown envelopes anymore.
No, not at all.
No.
Well, we'll say that anyway.
Isn't that right, Mark?
Put that
Don't
in
get brown
subtitles down
envelopes.
there. You were saying you're going down south for a few gigs.
We did a couple of gigs last year. We did one in Castle Blaney. We did one in the Pavilion in Dunleary. And this year, I think we're doing, or next year, we're on tour. We're doing 3. We're doing Letterkenny and Greenan. We're doing
Oh, geez.
somewhere. We're doing the Pavilion again. And we're doing
Yes,
something.
we are. Yeah.
And the Garage Theatre we've done in Monaghan.
Monaghan,
Yeah.
Oh, nice
Actually, you know, because we do a lot of Northern Ireland politics, but actually we've had really, really good reception down there. Really
Yeah,
good
yeah,
reception.
yeah.
Kind of with shocked, kind of, you know, how, because you think, you know, they don't know who them. we
Any
are.
gig I've done down south, it was fun, but just like ridiculous. Like I remember one of my first early gigs. I remember I used to do this story on stage, but I don't think it done well because no one believed it, but it was true. So it was like early days, and there was a comedy competition, and you had like 15 acts done with 5 minutes, and then it went to like an audience vote kind of a thing. And I'd lost even before I went there because everyone had brought their family and friends, and I just kind of went down to me and a friend. And I remember this guy came on, and he was one of the acts, and he was blind. He had the glasses, and he had this cane and everything, and he went on stage, and he was on before me, and he done the whole material. It was about, he was from Cavan, and the whole thing was about being from Cavan, and he was blind, and he murdered the place. Absolutely, everyone loved it. Every round of applause for everything. Then I got on, ate shit. He'd killed that hard that I bombed. I remember going, because I was opening for Mickey at the time too, so I remember going, this is all the material I have. I've nothing else, and I have to go to the nerve centre tomorrow, and I'm going to eat shit in front of 300 people. Anyway, after the show, followed him out, and we were all leaving at the same time. I mean, me and my friend just happened to be behind him, but he was just like a mile ahead of us. And we were just watching him, and eventually we just turned the corner and seen him get into a Vauxhall Aston and drive off. He wasn't blind at all. Right? He wasn't blind one bit. And
that was his act.
I remember going, what is going on here?
Oh.
And I was like, surely this is not legal. There's something against this. And I remember I stayed at the gigs, and anytime I was ever gigging down south or anything, I remember asking, like, in the comedy clubs, do you ever come across the fella from Calvin's blind? No, I don't know who you're talking about. And I love the notion that he must have just...
This is one gig?
I'm going to just screw with these people for one gig.
So we don't know who he is.
Never heard tell of him from the day ever since. He won the competition and left.
Did he get paid in cash for winning the competition?
I don't know what the competition was. Maybe £15 or a bottle of probably a tin of sweets or something. But I remember the time, because the early days for me, I was devastated. I was like, oh, I can't do this stand-up anymore. And this guy just drove off.
He nearly ruined your career.
Nearly ruined it before he even got going. Good thing I followed him down the street, or what I knew. Oh, jeez, I remember that as well. Hey.
To this day, we don't know who he is.
We don't know, and I've asked more people. I've done gigs in Galway and the Rex, and no, I don't know who he is. I don't even know if he's from Cavan.
You see, Fintna, you're on the border. Well, you're close to the border, right?
Ah, yeah, very, very close.
But it's still a different country, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, very close, but it's all the same too.
It's all the same, and
Yeah.
you see, that's the closest you've come to a political joke. It took nearly an hour, but you got there eventually.
I've written my hand here. Just make sure to get one in.
Mark, thank you very, very much for being on the Give My Head podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, genuinely go and see this man. I've seen him 2 or 3 times now. I've seen him.
Yeah.
And I've laughed every time. I've laughed, and I would tell you if I didn't laugh.
Thank you very much.
No better man at the Mandela Hall in Belfast, but he's all over the place. Just look him up. Well, you know anyway, on the interweb to look him up. There's a link below. There's a link below. And don't forget, Give My Head Peace is on tour next year as well. The link below. We're in the Opera House at the end of March. And don't forget, most importantly, the live show, Give My Head podcast, live at the Mandela Hall on the 12th of October. Get your tickets now. In the meantime, thank you very much. And thank you very much to our fabulous sponsors, Phoenix Energy. Really appreciate your support. We're going to, I don't know if you extend to Fintna, but if you extend to Fintna, there's a customer here waiting who wants Phoenix Energy, wants Phoenix gas, he wants instant heat at his fingertips. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.